In this screencast, we'll get some background information on William Wordsworth. He was born in 1770 and died in 1850. Wordsworth lived in France for a year and was a staunch supporter of the French peasants and merchant class who wanted to rise up against the aristocracy. While he was there, he met and fell in love with a woman named Annette Vaillant. Although they were never married, the two had a child together. Unfortunately, shortly after their daughter was born, Wordsworth had some money concerns, so had to go back to England and settle his affairs. While he was in England, the French Revolution broke out, and that made it impossible for Wordsworth to return to France and to his wife and daughter. Wordsworth never married, but spent much of his adult life living with his sister Dorothy, and along with their friend Samuel Taylor Coleridge, William and Dorothy explored the Lake District in England. And during that time, Wordsworth and Coleridge collaborated on several poems and eventually published them in a book called Lyrical Ballads in 1798. Wordsworth, his philosophy was that maturity is, quote, the interaction between the inner world of the mind and the shaping force of external nature, end quote. In other words, our maturity depends upon how our imagination interacts with the world around us. Remember, too, Wordsworth's definition of great poetry that was included in his preface to his lyrical ballads. Quote, the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings that are recollected in tranquility. It's one of the most important definitions of poetry ever written. As he grew older, Wordsworth grew to be quite prosperous and famous. In fact, he was named Poet Laureate of Great Britain in 1843. Unfortunately for him, though, people said that he had just lived too long. Most of his most famous poems were written before 1807, more than 40 years before his death. He simply was not the poet in old age that he was as a young man. As an old man, he was often made fun of by younger poets. You'll see Lord Byron take a crack at him in Don Juan. One of Wordsworth's most famous sayings is, the child is the father of the man. And this is from Ode Intimations. That seems kind of cryptic, doesn't it? What could he mean by that? This idea comes through in his poetry, and I'm sure that you'll see it in both We Are Seven and in Ode Intimations. Wordsworth believed that children are closer to God and nature, and that as adults we become more alienated from both. He says that we can learn a lot if we stop and listen to children, that, like our fathers, they have a lot to teach us. So watch for this idea as you read. I'm sure you'll find it throughout Wordsworth's poetry. Thank you.